Welcome to Inside the Birds. Our big game coverage is presented by Green Lawn Fertilizing. We're very excited to have Green Lawn Fertilizing on board to bring you guys all of the birds coverage leading off to kickoff.
I wanted to get your thoughts on if Fangio might have to make some adjustments, or do you just say, let's see your best versus our best?
So let me ask you this. Why didn't you ask the reverse question and say that the Chiefs have to change up? I think that question is a larger question that speaks to you have to bring both teams' defenses in. Both teams can play a certain style offensively because their defenses are so good. So in other words, they can punt the ball if need be, and normally, because neither team really turns the ball over, the opposing offense has to go 75, 80, 85 yards, and it's hard to sustain offense consistently against these two defenses. Spags is much more of a situational defensive coach in terms of pressure than Vic is. Vic, is much more of let's be fundamentally sound and do all the right things, with our fronts, with our on the back end, with eye discipline, with let's be in the right spot. He's much more that guy. He's not going to pressure a lot. More of his pressures tend to be what we call sim pressures, where it's a four-man rush, but you bring a linebacker. The Eagles rarely ever bring a defensive back as part of a pressure. Rarely ever. I think they did once against the Commanders, and when I saw the play, I was like, wow, Hooper DeJean actually blitzed, and it was a five-man rush, but they rarely ever do that. Where on the other hand, Spags, he had the second highest percentage of using defensive backs in his pressure packages as any team in the league. Only the Bucks had a higher percentage. We have what we have. Some things are going to be different because teams had 2 weeks. I think both teams are very comfortable playing a kind of a sustaining offense game.
One thing I've seen watching the Chiefs playoffs is the way he disguises blitzes. And I'm wondering if, since Jalen's got 2 games against him, plus the watching the film, if he's going to be able to pick that up, or if it's going to be more of a react when, you don't know what he's doing when the play starts and all of a sudden he's got corners coming at him or something like what happened in Buffalo.
I mean, Hurts has been very good against the blitz this year, which is not just him, of course, but I mean, the Eagles' pass game has been good against the blitz this year. That's a clear case, Carl, where Spags will have, a few tweaks to what he does. He'll have some pressures that are tendency breakers. But I think you have to be careful formationally in given situations, because Spags is a situational blitzer. He's not just a wild blitzer that blitzes, like Rex Ryan used to do, where you never know, he's just going to blitz and blitz and blitz. Spags is not like that. He's very situational. So you have to be careful formationally in those situations. Normally it's third down, but it could be second and long. Every once in a while it might be first down. You don't know. But you have to understand that if you line up in tighter formations, that there could be pressure coming. And you have to be aware of that. You just have to be prepared. You can't let free runners at your quarterback. You just can't.
Speaking of things that are green, if you're already stressing about your lawn this spring, head over to our friends at Green Lawn Fertilizing. They can help. They're based right here in the Philadelphia area. These guys are the experts in this region's conditions, including PA, New Jersey, and Delaware. They know how that tough drought was last year and created a custom blend and approach that will help your lawn recover. Everybody remembers last year, it looked like as dry as the desert, just one brown lawn after another brown lawn, no rain. It killed neighborhoods. It made our beautiful lawns look, well, not so beautiful. So be sure to sign up now and receive 10% off at Green Lawn Fertilizing. And I'm told this is a very limited time offer. So head to the link in our description or greenlawnfertilizing.com/inside-the-birds to take advantage. You got to be stressed out? Be stressed out about Jake Elliott lining up for a 55-yard field goal in the big game. That should be the only thing you're stressed about this season. Call Green Lawn Fertilizing today.
Washington really exploited the A-gap blitzes. Was that more because Dickinson and Jurgens were having problems reacting because they were both hurt?
Well, normally, Spags' pressures are not normally a gap, but again, we don't know. It's 2 weeks and teams do stuff. Normally, he doesn't do that. But what he's very, very good at is he's very good at showing the pressure late. I think the Eagles will play a lot of no huddle, which, I think that theoretically, and of course the Chiefs will be prepared for it, but theoretically that minimizes pressure. But, the Chiefs also do what we call BTF, blitz to formation. So in other words, if they see a formation where they feel they can get to the quarterback, it becomes an automatic call.
I watched the game 2 years ago, like 2 times since we had this off week, and Hurts didn't look like he had too much difficulties getting people the ball. How much more exotic has KC been this year compared to other years?
Oh, I can remember it. And also keep in mind in that game 2 years ago, now granted, it was still Spags, it was a different offense, obviously, but the Eagles really controlled the ball in the first half of that game. They ran 44 plays in the first half in the Super Bowl, 2 years ago. And Hurts was a major factor as a runner. Hurts had 10 called runs in the first half. And I think that's going to be a factor in this game as well. He's had 2 more weeks now for the knee to heal. It's the last game of the season. You're not holding anything back. I think they're going to make the Chiefs have to defend. I mean, he rushed 10 times for 52 yards in the first half in that Super Bowl, and those were 10 called runs, not scrambles. And I think they're going to do the same kind of thing and see how the Chiefs respond to that.
Question is, because Kansas City is not that explosive on offense in terms of dialing up those big plays, I think that will kind of factor into how Vic kind of deals with Mahomes scrambling, since he doesn't not necessarily have to worry about the big plays.
That's a great question. Now, we went back in our matchup room and we looked at a number of games when Vic was in Denver to see how he played Mahomes, and he didn't spy. So again, you don't know, but he didn't do that when he was with Denver. And Mahomes had big games against Vic Fangio defense. There's only one game he didn't have a big game, and actually there were a couple of drop balls that would have made the stats much, much better than they look. So Mahomes has not had issues with Vic Fangio's defense. Now, you can start getting into all the personnel and all that. That's a whole, but I'm talking about conceptually. He hasn't had a problem. So the question is, since Vic knows that too, does he try to do a few different things? Maybe he does use a spy. We don't know. But that he did not do that when he was with Denver, and he played him 6 times because he was there 3 years. So, we'll see. But Mahomes is not a runner in the sense that, let's say, Josh Allen is a runner, but he does, you get to the playoffs and he's got really big, important runs in critical high leverage down and distance situations. And those are killers. Those are morale beaters. And you got to, you have to have some kind of answer for that. You can't just go, okay, he ran 12 yards, no big deal, because it gets first downs.
This ain't the little itty bitty teeny tiny bowl. This is Super Bowl LIX. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 59. Scoring touchdowns is key to hoisting the Vince Lombardi trophy, and you have a shot to score big by betting on them at DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BIRDSPREGAME, all one word. That's code BIRDSPREGAME for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
The Super Bowl loss they had against Tampa Bay, what were they able to do to getting pressure on them? And do you think with some of the offensive line injuries and shuffling they have, that the Eagles have a chance to put that kind of pressure on Mahomes in this game?
That's a great, I wanted to address that anyway, because I think one of the big questions in this game is the Jalen Carter situation, okay? Because the right guard for the Chiefs is Trey Smith, who's arguably the best right guard in the NFL. And he's going to be the highest paid right guard in the NFL after this year, the highest paid guard. So the question is, like almost every team does when they slide their protection to Carter, that leaves Milton Williams one-on-one with the left guard. And Milton Williams has been a dominant player this year. So the question is, are the Chiefs going to do that? Because they may feel that Trey Smith can block Jalen Carter. And, that changes the whole feel of your pass rush. So we don't know the answer to this, but I would bet, if you really put a gun to my head, I would bet that the Chiefs start the game with Trey Smith blocking Carter 101.
I don't think the Chiefs they've never faced Saquon Barkley as well. So I think I wanted to see what you thought, how he would go against them.
Well, I think that gets to larger questions as to what the Eagles decide to do from a personnel standpoint. Will the Eagles be in 12 personnel? Will they be in 11 personnel? Because the Chiefs have a couple of players who are really intriguing players. Leo Chenal is a really fascinating player, and he'll play in nickel at times, but he predominantly plays when they're in their base, 4-3 grouping. But he's a really good football player. That's the first thing they'll have to decide is how they want to run the ball. I thought that the Eagles have done a really good job in recent weeks of using motion in the run game. Everybody sees motion as a pass game thing, but it's really effective in the run game because what motion often does is it takes run support away from where you want to run. Motion is a really big deal in the run game. I mean, I remember, for those who might be older or who follow football back in the day, which seems like the day now, that's what Joe Gibbs did so well in the 80s in the run game with the Redskins. It was motion because it impacts run support. Because you don't want to run where you don't have the numbers with the bodies.
Greg, the one thing I took a look back at games last year in the Super Bowl, and the Eagles did not throw to the back. Them doing much more throwing to the backs, either to check down or in screens. Is that going to give them a little more advantage because Chiefs haven't seen all that much?
I don't know if at this time of year, Carl, there's an advantage, that you can say, well, a team hasn't seen much because, what teams do, just so everybody knows, is when it gets to the playoffs, and certainly when it gets to the Super Bowl, they bring in all their scouts, and they're part of the process of game planning and preparation. So there's not going to be anything that, in a conceptual sense, they haven't seen. Now, what teams try to do is take what they do and maybe show it just from a slightly different look or have a different person be involved in something that another player has been involved with throughout the season. But the Chiefs are not going to go into this game and think, well, we haven't seen a screen, so I don't know. That's not going to happen, which again doesn't mean it won't be successful because obviously teams have successful plays, but this is not necessarily a trick 'em game. Every once in a while, a team will do that. If you think back to last year's Super Bowl, wasn't it Jennings who threw a touchdown pass to McCaffrey, if memory serves me correctly? Every once in a while, a team will do something like that. But you usually don't win these games, and obviously the 49ers didn't win. You normally don't win these games because you do something that is an, oh my God. I mean, it does happen. We know about the Philly special and all that.
Yeah,
this stuff does happen, but normally, if you go back through, all Super Bowls, that stuff doesn't necessarily. I think that stuff happens either because a team wants to do it early or because a team feels like they're not moving the ball.